All right. You mean basically you just want to have a chat at the weekend and record it? Fine. Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Because obviously we're all middle-aged now, and a lot of my friends are going through some kind of crisis.
Jesus Christ, man. Oh!
You know, there's a lot of work involved because, like, I'm going to ask you lots of questions.
You should probably burn her and throw her ashes in the river.
I mean, if you just want to have a conversation for the week, if you're lonely, Richard, just tell me.
You really know how to make me feel self-conscious. I'm sure we were. I'm sure we were cool at one point. Were we? I think so.
Consigning it to digital evidence that will then be played back to them in court.
Why are we even talking about this?
You might lose interest very quickly because I have a habit of making these passion projects very boring very quickly.
Sometimes I just like talking about things that I don't really understand.
So yeah, there you go. There's loads of questions for you. And have a lovely day.
Seriously though, are you sure?
That's my opinion.
They do say it's good to talk, but I never hear them actually talking. This show with Ben and Rich.
This show with Ben and Rich. You found a way to communicate your feelings without actually directly communicating your feelings. Stop it.
Hello, that was smooth. That was almost professional.
I still think that intro is too long, you know. If there's anyone still listening, well done.
I'd personally have it longer. I'd make it about 45 minutes.
Let's forget about the podcast and just keep a long reel of us doing sound bites for an hour. Terrible idea.
Smooth jazz. I liked it.
So this week we have yet another exciting, invigorating, and give me some more adjectives. Thrilling, deep,
nice.
Yep, ever the wordsmith. Subject, which is something that's very close to your heart. I think it's a good topic for you to take charge of because you are afflicted by collector-mania or what's it called? What's the medical condition?
Is it kleptomania?
No, I think that's something else.
I don't know. I don't think it is an affliction, but I feel like the next hour or so is you going to be making out like I've got a serious mental health issue and then make me sell my entire collection.
I mean, this is definitely one of your mental problems. I don't know if it's the biggest.
I collect them as well.
Exactly. You know. Well, let's kick off because I'm quite interested in the concept of collecting and what it is that drives people to start, or how they choose what it is that they're going to collect, and when your collection gets out of hand and you have to say to yourself, okay, I've got a problem. I think one of the main signifiers, one of the main signs that maybe your collecting is getting a bit out of hand is when you have to build a separate room for your stuff, which is in fact what's happening. This is why I wanted to talk about this, because you're getting married soon. Congratulations. And I don't know if this is true or not. We've not actually spoken about it, but I have the impression that one of the conditions of your lovely wife-to-be was that you get all of your crap out, just get it out, put it somewhere else. So you've built your own little man cave, which I think... Yeah, which is great, by the way. It's fantastic.
Well, it's also quite controversial because that was never meant to be a man cave.
It's it's where you put the cars, right? It's a garage. It's supposed to be a garage.
No, it used to be a garage, and then
it's not anymore.
So for people who don't know, 6 months ago, me and my partner moved into this house. Well, actually, it's nearly a year ago now. God. But yeah, there was an old garage in the back, which you can't use for getting cars in because it's in the back garden. And the guy before, had it as a workshop, and it became mine and Sharon, my partner's, office. That was the whole idea of it. And I got it plastered and done out nice, and we've got lights and heating, and it's like a real room now. But the whole office thing didn't really work out, which is a bone of contention still today.
I mean, I think that if you're not into the thing that somebody is collecting, it can be a little bit disturbing. But one of the reasons in my research, for example, I don't know, if you collect human skin and you say, hey, you're on a date, you've met somebody, you've finally gone on that date, the woman in your office that you like, you invite her out, you have a great time, a couple of glasses of wine and a nice meal, and then you say, hey, do you want to come back to my house? And we walk in and switch the light on and say, oh, by the way, I have a bit of a collection. And there's just these jars of toenail clippings or skin or something.
Yeah. Do you remember the Alan Partridge episode?
Yeah, I watched that today, actually. That's funny you mentioned that.
That guy, and he goes, "Oh, I'm such a big head." It's just a room covered in his crap. Should we explain what my collection is? Because you're making it sound like
do a reveal.
Body parts or something. So 5 years ago, Ben, you've got some images. 5 years ago, I started sort of recollecting, really, some action figures from the realm of WWF, so the American wrestling.
Shall I pull number one up?
Pull number one up.
Exhibit A. Here it comes. There it is. There he is.
So this is a guy, Ultimate Warrior, who was my favourite growing up. And sort of in 2018, I found myself living a bit of a bachelor lifestyle in my own place. And thought, I'm going to start recollecting some toys from my youth. And I promised that I'd just start with the Ultimate Warrior, who was my favourite. Mm-hmm. But as you'll see, as Ben pulls up the images, this sort of grew, and then I got lots of the Ultimate Warrior ones, and then I thought, there's loads more to collect, so I'll start collecting some other guys.
That's number two.
And then some other guys.
So that's your is that your Ultimate Warrior section? Who's in that in the background there? They're all Ultimate Warrior, aren't they? On the front row.
Yeah,
like tiny little. Where do you get that tiny dude from?
See, that's it though. Once I started, I had to get every single one. So it was like a big version all the way down to that tiny little. I'm not even sure what he is. I think he's like a paperweight or something, or a keyring. And that's actually just a small selection of the Ultimate Warrior ones I've got.
Yeah, let's go to. I feel like, if this isn't presented in court at some point in the future, look at what's going on here.
It's most likely to be a divorce court. Yeah. I think that's.
But you've already mentioned a couple of the things in my research, and while I've been trying to kind of rationalise collecting myself, because I have my own collections as well. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I think nostalgia is probably one of the most common. It's something connected to. It can be connected to a design. It can be connected to a TV show, or just something that makes you think of your youth. Like the most common is in fact wrestling figures. That's one of the most.
Really?
Yeah. I was found a list of common collections. It's gaming consoles, trainers, and models and figures are up there at the top. Wine and whiskey as well. People just collect whiskey bottles. They don't drink them. Star Wars, Doctor Who. So you've got like the TV shows and everything. Gnomes.
Well, Star Wars is of course massive, and I think the whole sort of retro toy thing really took off in COVID.
Mm.
There are a lot of sort of guys around my age that found themselves furloughed or just stuck at home.
Hang on a
And
minute. What's on the top shelf there? That's Funko Pops.
there's some Funko Pops. See,
So you're.
so
Hang on a minute. How's that happened? I thought you were a purist.
no, well, basically, I got. So there's a lot of different types of wrestling figures. So throughout the years, like I started off with the originals from like the late 80s, early 90s that I had when I was a kid, and I've collected nearly all of them now. There's a few that are just too expensive. Like some of them, you're looking at over $1,000 for like one figure.
Oh my god.
And I'm not quite that mental, although it does get a little bit more mental later in the story. But then there's the ones from like the late 90s, which are those slightly taller ones. They're Jacks. And then the Funko Pops. I started getting some wrestling ones, and then found a shop that did like 3 for a tenner. So I just started collecting ones that I liked. And they used to all be on my work desk until my boss told me, we don't work in a play school. Get rid of your fucking toys.
Yeah.
So they had to come home. The worrying thing in that image is those boxes that you can see. Because sometimes I have to buy 2 sets, one to put out on display and one to keep mint in box.
So
And
why do you have to do that? Why do you need? This is something that I guess why I'm not a very good collector, because if you get the thing, you want to touch it and use it and interact with it. There's no way that I could have a doll, a figure. Sorry, I know you don't like it when I call them dolls. I couldn't have a figure and not like interact with it. So why keep it in the box? Obviously.
No, you don't, Ben. You get 2. You spend twice as much money, and you get one to keep in the box.
Yeah.
And one to display
To play with in the bath.
Yeah, sometimes I have a fig bath.
Yeah.
If I get a load of ones off eBay and they're a bit mucky, sometimes I'll light some candles, run a hot bubble bath.
Do you make noises? Do you do the noises?
No, it's just purely for cleaning.
Yeah.
Kenny G.
Of course it is, mate. Of course it is.
But
sitting in the bath with your dolls.
So I understand this can look a little bit obsessive, and I think there's another image of the whole sort of room, and you can see why Sharon gets a little bit miffed, because
I can't believe she's marrying you. It's just it defies logic. Look at this.
I do seem to have taken over most of the room.
Who are these big chaps at the bottom? They're
Austin.
Steve Austin.
There's Steve Austin, there's a Hogan there somewhere, and a Seth Rollins that Sharon made a dress for. So she does get involved sometimes. She made him a little black number. And then there's the replica belts and stuff. So I'm guessing you're wondering how much money I've spent on my collection.
Yeah.
And it's sort of difficult to say, because Sharon might listen to this.
Tens of thousands that you can say in that.
I'd say there's pushing 10 grand in that shot. Yeah.
The masks as well.
Which, as I say it, I feel a bit sick. It's a bit mad, isn't it?
I mean, this is your legacy. This is what your daughter's going to inherit.
Yeah, she'll be happy.
Beautiful doll collection. I mean, nostalgia. It starts with nostalgia, right? But then, if we're going to talk about collecting in terms of a medical condition, like the psychology of collecting, One of the reasons this doesn't work for you, but one of the reasons that people collect things that I read about was to attract potential mates, which I don't think. I mean, what's the female presence like in the wrestling figure community?
I mean, so I'm a member of some Facebook groups. Big shout out, LOH. Sorry, that was the uncoolest thing I've ever said in my life, and I've said a really lot of uncool things. But I think there's 2 girls in that group.
What's the size of the group?
About 3,000.
That's a ratio, man. That is wow. Okay.
But I think that's more down to the subject matter, maybe. I don't know. I don't think it's a collecting thing, is it? I think girls collect things as much as boys or women and men.
But that's the kind of, I mean, with this theory of attracting a mate by being able to accumulate stuff, it really does depend on. I mean, it's like it's an animal thing, isn't it? It's how you decorate your nest or how you wave your feathers. If you've got a collection of Lamborghinis, slightly more impressive, I think. No?
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's the monetary value to that. I suppose that is more impressive, but is it any more attractive? I don't know. If someone's into the same thing as you, then they find that attractive, don't they?
Do you like that your collection and that the thing that you're attracted to collecting? Do you like the fact that it's very niche? That it's like, would it mean less to you if everybody was interested in collecting them? Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't think so. I think that's where something like music differs. We have a friend who collects vinyl of Mongolian spoon jazz. Just the most obscure shit that no one else will ever listen to.
But you want the rare figures, right? Don't you desire the rare figures? Don't you, when you're having a bath with your figures and you're looking at them all and you're telling them how pretty they are, and you realise that you haven't got that one that everybody wants, the golden Pikachu wrestler, that mysterious.
No, absolutely, and I think there is a certain amount of kudos. The guys that I know who have, so one series of them is these ones called Hasbros, and they started end of the 80s and ran till like the early 90s, and towards the end of the run, so like 93, the last series, they had loads of distribution problems. The manufacturer lost the license, and so that was a really limited run. And some guys have got all of them, and you do sort of look at their photos, their displays, and go, "Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I would like that." But for me, like, I think the biggest thrill of it is hunting them down and like finding them. I could go on eBay, and if Sharon let me, I could blow £1,000 on a figure. But I'd much rather. I mean, the dream is to find it. We call it finding it in the wild, so like a car boot or like a little toy shop somewhere or whatever.
Yeah. I can understand that. That's the same. Because I collect vinyl, and it's I've got a vinyl collection, and it is like you say, in the wild. It's like the thrill of finding something valuable in a charity shop that's been massively underpriced by a volunteer that doesn't really know, they don't know what they've got, and you kind of like holding in your laughter, you're just sniggering to the kind of just 50p. There you go. And then you take it home and just take all your clothes off and just rub it on you. I don't know. Do you ever? Because this is just what you were describing just then. Is the endowment effect? Have you heard of that?
I have not.
It's like it means that you value something more when you own it. So
Okay.
there's two parts to it. There's the sensation of not owning it and desiring it, and then there's the value increases once it belongs to you. It's the you want it has to be yours, you know. Um, and I think that
No, I get that. I can understand that. Yeah. I mean, some guys go as far as to find what are called test shots. So
hmm,
it's like the model that the manufacturer would make before doing a run of them. So it's like a test,
hmm.
basically. And people like, I think, like people who work in the factory like smuggle them out and then sell them for ridiculous amounts of money. But and these are just ultra rare, but they look like shit. You know what I mean? But people will have them and have them in like perspex cases and backlit and stuff. And I don't really understand that aspect of it. Like just the rarity bit for
Hmm.
me, I actually have to. What I think I have to have some sort of attachment to the thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. When does it cross over into something diagnosable? Because hoarding
Hmm.
is not the same as collecting, right? Collecting, I think, is something that you can control, and that it's you would classify it as a hobby. It's relatively harmless, except for the financial aspect. Um, Again,
Well,
depends what you're collecting, but
I
um,
think a big difference between hoarding and collecting is the organisation of a collection. A collection has to have some sort of organisation, whereas hoarding is just the person might believe that it's organised, but to everybody else on the planet it's clear that it isn't. It's just piles of newspapers and
yeah, yeah. Well,
shit.
yeah. Hoarding is categorized as a mental health disorder. It's related to obsessive compulsive disorder,
Mm.
which is strange because I think that we have this kind of stereotype of obsessive compulsive people being incredibly clean and organized, but hoarders tend to just get locked into the idea of gathering things, and this is a strange thing that I was talking to about my students about this week, right? Because I live in Spain, and television over here is different. Number one, it's Spanish. Um, but the programming, the things that they like to watch, they like to watch a lot of dramas over here. And I was trying to explain to them the things that we watch on TV in the UK, and saying we have a program about hoarders, like it's literally dedicated to what would you call that? It's like disorder porn. You know, I was because I said there's different versions of the same kind of program. Like we like to watch people that we think are weird, just so we can go. It's the same with medical disorders. So that you remember the freaky eaters?
Yeah,
It's like
well, I
a
mean,
go
this
on.
is basically so Channel 5, isn't it? This is what Channel 5 has based
Hmm.
its history on. It started off with softcore porn and freaks. It's
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, certainly in England, we like to look at odd things and odd people and odd behaviours. Um,
It's always
or
the genitals though, with the medical one. When they come and say, Jean from Skegness has had a problem. And then they come in and she's just goes, it's always, they always have to
she's
get
been
their bit,
collecting
yeah,
STIs.
collecting yeast. Like this is cultivating yeast. It's always something about their genitals. My mum will, like, when she's talking to me on Skype, she'll say, "Oh, I saw some. Oh, it was disgusting. I was having my dinner. I almost fetched it up." I thought, well, why are you watching it? You chose that out of the timetable. You sat down and you knew it was on at 8 o'clock. You prepared yourself a lasagna, and then you sat there and just scowled at this woman's rotten genitals. Uh, that's what we do in the UK. We like watching that stuff. But the reason I mention it is because there's another program about hoarding and people with. It's basically the Victorian freak show. I think the modern version. We just like to kind of look at people that are less. Maybe it makes us feel better about ourselves. You're sitting there.
Maybe a little bit, but I think hoarding as a disorder is like, it can be a very sort of destructive thing, can't it? Really. I work in a sort of industry where we look at trauma responses, and hoarding is certainly known to be a trauma response.
So, do you think that there is an element of addiction related to collecting?
Well, we're opening a can of worms with me here, aren't we? But yeah, I think there probably is. I mean, I'll send you a clip, which might explain it better.
Yeah, shall I stick that on?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Little pricey. Now, guys, I said this before, I'll say it again.
Dead air for a second.
Leave reviews. Do the retweets. Use the hashtag MajorPBR, hashtag MajorBendies. We give away prizes every single week.
Oh.
Why not?
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, shut
Anyway,
up.
the review
Free
this
stuff.
week. Free stuff. Ricardo Sparquez. This is a long one. In August 2018, I completed a 3-month stint in rehab for my drug and alcohol addiction. Before entering rehab, one of my many jobs had been WWE editor for Topps Europe and later WWE editor for Pedigree Books. You can blame me for all the mistakes in those books. That's the Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins thing from a couple weeks ago.
Oh, my God.
I was a lifelong fan of pro wrestling, be that WWF, WCW, or ECW. I was lucky enough to have been to loads of events, including several manias, and met loads of the boys. Never Matt or Brian, sadly, as those jobs finished around 2009. Coming out of rehab, I needed something to distract me from the still prevalent craving, so I started collecting some figs. Oh, man, that's dangerous. Just my top guys, Warrior Instinct to begin with. Then, in a universal twist of fate, the guys started their podcast. I found my new tribe, a new healthy hobby that gave me a similar thrill to my old ways, but with better outcomes. The figure community and everyone I've met has been super supportive of me and my ongoing recovery, and with their help, I'm coming up to 5 years clean and sober. Congrats, dude.
That's awesome.
Every year, I get myself a replica belt to celebrate my sober day. Oh, I get it. Maybe this year it's time for a major pie belt. I think so, pal. Go to Wildcat Belts.
Oh,
Look,
that's not even a question.
I might not ever be able to crack a PBR with the boys, but I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being such a big part of my recovery. I love that review. Yeah. Hey, you can crack the PBR, just don't drink it.
I mean,
I
love the when Broski has to sing and stuff on that segment, but when it's more sentimental like that, I hits home a little bit more.
Broski, I noticed you're drinking out of the FWF mug that we like because.
There you go.
Yeah. So for me, I'd gone through some shit. Let's put it like that. And I think in that review I left for those guys, they're saying, it's a bit of a I needed something to replace something. I've got a massively addictive. I don't like the term personality. I'm an addict, So whatever I get into, I'll get into like pretty hardcore. And some things that I've chosen in the past haven't been very good for me. Whereas picking up some little dollies seems like a much healthier option. I think also there's a big element for me about being involved in like a community of other people that are into a similar thing. And previously when I was doing other stuff that wasn't plastic, there was a community around that as well, where we'd all sort of co-sign each other's bullshit. Gone, have one more drink, or do a line there, you'll be all right. Whereas in the dolly collecting world, it's a lot more like, that one is worth that much. Yeah, you'll be all right. Get that one. And I suppose financially that can be an issue, but thankfully now I'm a bit more financially secure. Now I'm not necking it all. So and we're all pretty sensible, really. But there is an element of encouragement. There's an element of belonging. There's an element of friendship around it. You
Yeah,
know,
community. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's a lot less destructive than stuff that I've chosen to do in the past. You know, in fact, you know, a few weeks ago, I went and met a big bunch of guys from this Facebook forum page that I'm a member of, and we all went to Wembley, and we all met for the first time ever, like in 4 years because of lockdown and stuff. There was a big wrestling event at Wembley. I mean, that to me that was secondary to going and meeting these guys, and it was nice, man. It was a bit awkward because we're all geeks and socially inept.
Yeah. No women.
But no girls whatsoever. But it was really nice, and we all sort of have what we call working names. You'll notice at the start of that clip, they mentioned Ricardo Sparquez, which is my lucha alter ego that I sometimes use for silly things in the Facebook group. And I walked into this pub and everyone's like, Sparkers! It was like just so fucking weird. I'm like, oh, we're using our made up names. Cool.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Good job I brought my cape with me.
Yeah, I didn't take the mask. But you know, yeah, it's lovely. It's a community, and for me personally, I honestly think being part of a community like that has been healthy for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And but is it an addiction? It probably is. You know.
Well, there's different types of addiction, as you know, and I suppose, like you say, if you're using that as a release, a form of release, a form of therapy, in place of the more destructive addictions that you can have and that you have had. And that most people have, and also at least it's something measurable. Like if you have a destructive addiction, you just keep going, don't you? And you don't. There's no way of knowing where the limits are. But if you know, how many dolls do you have? Do you know the exact precise number of you?
No,
You don't even know.
but no, but I can, you know, I can see.
I've
them.
got 5 of them here because you keep posting them to me.
You love them.
Hogglesworth.
But no, I think I can see them, can't I? You know, they're a tangible thing. They're something. They're not something I put on my nose or down my throat. You know, they're something that's there, and I can see them, and I can see them every day, and they'll be there for as long as I want them to be there, and at some point, if I decide, I'll be able to sell them and make my money back. I'd have thought, really. But you know, is it an addiction? Is it a bit OCD? You know, but there's a whole. People have told me I might be a bit OCD. Professionals have told me I might be a bit OCD, and looking at other things that I have in my life. I tend not to ever get one of something.
How many times do you brush each of your teeth?
I'm not OCD like that. Jesus, yeah. I'd have teeth like yours, mate. But it's yeah, like I've got 5 guitars.
Yeah, you don't, and you play the drums.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
You just decided that you wanted them one day. It's mental.
But then I've got like 2 drum kits and I barely play the drums.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it earlier, and I was doing some work around the garden today, and I've got 5 electric drills. Which is weird. I don't need that many. I can never find a charger for any of them, so that's probably And the worst one, I've got 4 lawnmowers, Ben.
How many lawns have you got?
I've got about 1 meter by 4 meters of grass.
The lawnmower is bigger than the lawn.
I've got 2 fly mows, a cordless Bosch, and a petrol one. And they're just filling up the shed.
But you've always been like this. I mean, I haven't known you your entire life, but I've known you long enough for it to be a problem for me. And I remember even I've made this comment earlier today when I was sending you a WhatsApp. You're the same with jobs. You collect jobs. Like there's nothing that you haven't done. As it, you've been like a pirate, a drug smuggler, a chef, a musician, a DJ, terrible DJ. Oh God, that was awful. You always seem to be moving on to the next thing or reinventing yourself. I'm not having a go.
I mean, a lot of that was necessity. Then that was,
Yeah, that's true.
That was burning bridges, and that was a necessity. But I suppose if you look at my CV, I have collected.
How many
jobs,
pages is your CV? It's like a novel.
I've got a narrowed down version nowadays. I think, but again, the last 5 years. You say that. I think I've had 4 jobs in 5 years, but this latest one is 2 years long. I think I'm settled now in this one.
God.
But jobs are a thing, and and I will obsess about stuff like you say you collect vinyl. When we moved into this house, we thought, it'd be like quite grown up and sophisticated to get a nice record player and some separates and stuff, and we did that, and then just go around charity shops buying shit, buying like Now 3.
The Sound of Music.
Well, no, we found charity shops actually only have soundtracks from crappy musicals and classical
Tchaikovsky.
music. Yeah, like a box set of Tchaikovsky.
It's always one of those.
But vinyl is a massive thing, isn't it? We should talk about your collection a little bit because you're making me sweat a bit here. But we've started collecting vinyl, and just the other night we were in bed chatting, and
Discogs. You're on Discogs.
Yeah, this song came on Sharon was watching TikTok, and this song came on "Gordon is a Moron" by Tilted John. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I've got that. I've got it.
Well, I said I had that on an album that my godmother gave me called Knuckle Sandwich. when I was, I remember having it when I was like 4 or something, so like early 80s. And I looked up this album and found it on eBay for like 48 quid, and I'll have that straight away. So I see something, I obsess, and then I sort of make a snap decision, and before I know it, I've got 4 longboard skateboards, rather than one, and I've got
five lawnmowers.
Yeah, and a stack of vinyl that's growing, but is mostly dog shit. Like I've got the Venga Boys on vinyl.
Nice.
It's odd. But tell me about your vinyl collection. Well, I think yours is a bit more like
sophisticated.
Isn't it? Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's basically my dad's. Most of it is my dad's, but I started collecting 7 inches and. One of my goals in Spain was to build a best of British set, because I wanted to do a set in a bar here every week, just playing like classic 60s, 70s British pop and rock.
Nice.
So I've just been building that for a few years, but yeah, most of it is my dad's. He was going to give it all away. I was like, whoa! I had to do
intervention.
Intervention. That's what I couldn't find. But yeah, it's not that impressive. I don't know if it would. This is the funny thing about vinyl, is because it's genre based. Maybe it's the same inside the wrestling community as well. Like everybody has their own preferences. So like somebody might look through what I've got and not know any of the artists and think I went in a big kind of reggae ska direction. So in terms
classically
of
British.
Yeah.
Oh no, I suppose it is actually.
Yeah. Bit of skinhead, Moonstomp. But yeah, it's something that I find myself, it's a treat. So, but then again, that is addictive behaviour, because you you find a way to justify. Oh, I've done this. Oh, I got through the week without insulting anyone, or you know, I don't know. You just find a reason to justify. Oh, I deserve to have a new record. So yeah, it's not a big problem for me, but it is just constantly growing, and it's to the point now where I don't really have the space. So that's a thing, and I've accidentally ended up with this wrestling figure collection, which I didn't ask. Sending me those in the post. I'll find a place for those. One question, just something that I was thinking earlier on. I know I keep mentioning that there aren't any women in your community except those two women that managed to get in. But do you think that collecting is a predominantly masculine thing? I can't think of any women that I know that collect stuff.
Well, you know what? I don't really know anyone sort of our age, any of my female friends that collect, but two of my girls do. Millie, our eldest, she's 16, and she is a massive Taylor Swift fan. And Taylor, bless her, breadstick and a wig, she is, whatever I think of her music, she's a marketing genius, or has a marketing genius working with her, and just a master of merchandise.
Yeah.
Vinyl is a big thing. She releases the exact same album on like six different color vinyls. There's always one that's really hard to track down, and we have to order it from the States. I mean, Millie's Taylor vinyl collection is probably a couple of grand already. You know? It's gonna make my habit.
Exactly. Actually, as soon as you mentioned the girls, I realised that I do know a lot of women that have or girls that have collections. My mum used to collect stamps, classic. And that's before international travel became a thing, before cheap flights. So it was very interesting for her to see a stamp that had come from Africa. And I remember looking at that as a kid. It was fascinated by these images that had come from around the world, and coins. Obviously, that's one of the most common collections. She had a coin collection as well. And my sister used to collect rubbers. That's as in erasers, not condoms.
That's a big one, man.
Yeah.
I
used to eat them though. I was a bit of a weird kid. Grew up to be a really, really strange adult. But I used to eat her rubbers. It wasn't my fault because a lot of them were shaped like food. There was one that was a custard cream that I didn't eat it. I had to sink my teeth into it, and I kept creeping into her room and sinking my teeth into her rubbers, until again there was an intervention there. And my nan collected spoons.
Okay.
From around the world.
Yeah.
But so I suppose it's not a gender thing. I'm going to play. Shall I? Go on.
Sorry, just quite interestingly, Lily, my youngest, she's just turned 7 a couple of days ago, and she has definitely got. I'm hoping it's a collecting gene over an addictive gene. She. There's a YouTube sensation in the world of children called Ryan's World. You may have come across this, but just like 1 million, maybe not 1 million, but maybe 50,000 toys. Like they're just these little sort of quite disposable toys that come in a blind bag, so like a sealed bag. And Lil's been through a phase of getting those, and I think she was 4 the first time I heard her say, "Yay, no duplicates!" Because she bought 2 bags and there weren't any duplicates.
The proudest moment of your life.
I was pretty chuffed. And then Barbie, she's quite obsessive about. She loves a Barbie.
I think it's changed the nature of the collecting because. They watch a lot of these videos on YouTube. They're more exposed to other people with collections, and the unboxing videos and all of that stuff. There's a different kind of vibe around all of that.
Yeah,
But-
and I think collecting is now, especially for little kids, is it's just a marketing tool to get them to buy shit. You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
Well, get their parents to buy it ship for them.
yeah. But I used to work in as that clip said, I used to work for Topps trading cards, and when you're getting the football stickers or the football trading cards, I'm not sure how it works now, but there was an algorithm that we knew that you'd have to buy X amount of packets to be able to get the full collection. Yeah, but there was no way you could get them for under this amount of packets. So we knew what the average spend was going to be. So it's always sort of been geared that way, especially around kids when they're collecting. It seems like a tool to get them to get more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it all started with the football stickers for me. I don't even like football. Football stickers, Cabbage Patch Kids. You remember them?
Yeah, I did them as well. I redid them.
Boglins,
Boglins were fun.
the branded yo-yos.
Yeah,
Fanta,
yeah.
Coca-Cola, all of those.
Yeah, they were big, weren't they? But if you look these things up on eBay now, the resale value on these is massive.
Yeah.
I bet those yo-yos are going for like 40 quid a pop.
Yeah. I wish I hadn't chewed on all of them and.
Why were you chewing?
I don't know. I
everything
just
as a
had to.
child?
I had a bit of a oral fixation
Were you
as
not
a child.
breastfed long enough?
No. Well, obviously not. So he wanted to get me away from her as quick. I just kept chomping on everything. He's got a dangerous gob. But yeah, I don't know.
Oh, mama.
Digging my teeth into stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to save your belts video for the end. I'm going to play that at the end. But I'm just going to take you through a little roller coaster ride of some unusual collectors and the things that they've collected along the way. I actually mentioned this at the beginning when I was talking about bringing someone to your home and saying, by the way, I have a strange collection, and then them kind of thinking that it's going to be something romantic, and then you meet this guy, and I don't know if you can see there what he has in that jar, but you will start to see a theme, and I don't mean to. I hope I don't offend you here, but these people in this list of strange collections, they all have a very similar psychotic kind of expression on their faces. How would you describe his expression? Is he proud? I don't know if he's trying to be proud or if he's disgusted by himself. But that's a jar of toenail clippings. Richard Gibson. He owns the largest collection of toenail clippings in the world. It started in 1978. Are you there? Have you gone? Have you disappeared? Oh my goodness. I'm talking to myself.
Sorry,
really...
I muted myself. I muted myself like an idiot. I'm sorry, I was coughing. Yeah, I was trying to work out what was in there. But I'm asking, is he official Guinness World Record?
For toenail clippings, yeah. I mean, that's not his complete collection.
Because that looks a bit shit. I reckon I could
do that in a week. What's wrong with your nails, man? You need to see a doctor. No, that's just part of his collection. I mean, look at his fingers. You can see that his nails are actually quite. That's his hand though. But these are toenail clippings. Look at the colour.
He'd never do fingernails. That'd be weird.
Yeah, I suppose so. That's just like a leap too far.
Wow.
Every time he clipped his nails, he added it to the collection. He's been doing it for 40 years, and it's estimated that he's got several thousand nails in that jar. Yeah. And, imagine presenting that to your date. I've got a very unusual collection, actually. I don't know if you're interested in this type of thing, but... yeah.
I'm going to make an admission. I just leave mine on the floor, and then my dog eats them. And then Big Nige eats them.
Of course he does.
Gross.
No wonder he always looks surprised. Here's another one. What's that? Oh, look at this! Look at this guy's face. What do you think that is?
There's a bit of There's a bit of a lag, mate. I'm looking at the live, so I can't see the picture.
Oh,
But
okay,
it'll
okay.
come. It'll come. Don't spoil my
Unfortunately.
surprise. Give me some clues as it pops up.
Well, it is something that I think that you could have done. I
Oh, what?
think.
Is that some sort of human cheese?
It's not. No, it's not jizz. It's not solidified. It's not
No,
a
I
jizz
didn't say
ball.
jizz. I thought
That's
like
what you
some
were
sort
implying.
of secretion.
No, it's
Is
not a
it-
secretion. It's nicotine gum.
Oh,
He quit smoking.
yeah, but how much is he spending on nicotine gum? If he gets a world record for the biggest gumball.
I think this guy. His name's Barry Chappell or Chappelle. I don't know how you pronounce it, but he was on an international flight and he wasn't allowed to smoke because this is back in the day.
That's one flight.
That
That guy had a nicotine habit.
Just one flight. He couldn't throw the gum away. He'd finished with his gum and he kept it. And then when he got home, he found it again, and then he got kind of obsessed. I don't believe this guy, even though it's an official record. It says in the article that took him 6 years. How much do you think it weighs?
4 stone.
175 pounds. I don't know what that is in metric. And
Divide that by 14.
Right.
Well, that's quite a lot. Yeah.
95,200 pieces. Okay, I did a little bit of maths before the show, right? So you divide that by 6. That's 15,867. Divide that by 365. That means 44 pieces every day. I don't think you can do that. 44 pieces of gum every day. I think look at his face. He's lying.
It would have been cheaper to smoke.
Yeah. And his hand stuck to it.
Yeah, it's stuck like that forever.
He can't get off.
And that lead he's got tied round it. He looks like a right twat walking that gumball.
What an idiot. Anyway.
Who's next?
Right, okay, so what's this?
Again, I can't see because I'm on a lag.
Right, I'll tell you a little bit about this guy. His name's Sigurdur Hjartarson, probably.
Norwegian.
Something like. He's from Iceland, right?
Okay.
And he's actually he opened a museum since 1997. It's been open. He's building his collection of. Can you see it yet?
Yeah, that looks like that meme that was going around in lockdown. You know, the black guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he collects penises.
Right, okay. Yeah.
He's got 143 penises from 41 mammals. I think because he hasn't seen his own one for a long time, so he's just to remind himself. But the way that he's touching it,
he enjoys his collection.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if he has a bath with those.
I think he could have made it more practical. If you turn that the other way around, you can hang your coat on it or your hat or something.
Or a small car. Do we know what animal that is from?
That's human penis. No, I have no idea. I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, it. Oh, I don't know. What would you guess? Elephant?
Yeah, it's got to be an elephant.
Something like that. I don't know how they preserve them. It must be an interesting job.
I hope they are preserved.
But I'd like to go. What do you think that we could do if once you're married and your wife can't? You get whatever you do. She just has to accept it because at the moment she can leave. But once it's too late for her, maybe we could go on a road trip to the Penis Museum. Would she be all right with that? I think she'd be all right with that. Fine.
I don't know.
No, don't give her ideas. Right, one more I've got for you. This guy is actually genuinely very pleased with his collection. Let me see if I can give you some information before you actually get to see who he is. His name is Amatore Bolzoni. And he has
in Italian. This is going to be perverse.
He's got 2,000. 2,000 of those.
Lollipops.
They're condoms.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's got all different Johnnies.
Yeah, he's got
Oh,
a
that's
Johnny
quite
collection. But look how happy he is. I
Yeah,
think,
man.
but how? I mean, he obviously did. He finds it hard to get laid, I think. Because, I mean, I had a condom collection that was basically just the one condom that was in my wallet during my 20s.
It was a very old one.
Yeah, old
It's
Meg.
an antique.
Yeah, just
Uh,
going powdery in my wallet because I couldn't get any action. But to have 2,000,
no, I think that's a great collection.
is that your favourite one out of all of them so
Yeah,
far?
definitely. I've seen like bands that have branded condoms, so you could get those.
Different flavours.
Venga Boys condoms. Going
Benga
back to
Boys.
Venga Boys, that would be good. Uh, yeah, and all ones from around the
What's the
world.
what's the one from bottom? A Union Jack, cheese and onion nobbler.
But I think that's a really interesting collection. I found a couple of collections. Do you want to, I can't show you the
Well,
pictures.
I
but-
just tell you briefly
Oh,
that
sorry, yeah.
his best his most prized possession is you call it a condom, but I suppose it's a birth control device from the 1800s, made from a sheep bowel.
Ah,
Yeah, old school Johnny.
so he's into the history of the Johnny
Yeah,
as
no,
well.
he takes it
Yeah.
really seriously. It's not just for posh wanks. He's like properly. He likes the brands, where it comes from, a little bit of history behind it. What a guy!
I think that's cool. A couple that I found that I thought were quite interesting was a man called, he's English, Neil Scallon, who has the Guinness Book of Records for the biggest collection of Monopoly games. He's got
wow.
just over 3,000. There's apparently that many versions. Interestingly, he's never played Monopoly. He's just got them all sealed. He says he doesn't fancy it, but he likes the boxes.
But okay, that was my question. Like, what drives him to? So it's just that's like an obsession with the design, with the branding.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I suppose, when something like Monopoly is licensed out, so there'll be like a Friends version or a Star Wars version. I suppose, like, graphically they're pretty cool. A guy, an American called Dick Valansky.
Oh yeah.
He's got 36,000 golf balls. No reason, just
Lives
got
next to
them.
a golf course.
Yeah, nothing special. Looking at the picture, like, there might be the odd, like, old one that he's got, but basically just buckets of golf. It's like he's robbed a driving range.
Yeah,
He called it a
It's not a bad
collection.
business. That it's my mate used to do that. He lived next to a golf course, and he'd go on there and sometimes go down by the lake, because you get them a lot around the lake, and he'd just collect them, take them home, wash them, and then he'd go to the front of the golf course and sell them to the people that had lost them.
Wow.
Which
Yeah, maybe that's what this guy's done.
how he
Forgotten to
started.
Sell them on. Another good one for the anti-socials amongst us. There's
that's me.
An Italian guy called Eduardo Flores. And those do not disturb signs you get in hotels and shit. He's got 15,000 different ones.
Brilliant,
It's like,
brilliant.
Really, he doesn't want
That
to be.
starts as a student. That's a student thing, surely.
He just really doesn't want to talk to anyone. And then this reminded me of someone I was at school with. I don't know what to tell first. Well, anyway, no. So there's this lady in England. And she became Guinness World Record holder in 2008 because she's got 2,032 gnomes in her garden.
Oh yeah. I read about her.
And that reminded me of this house I used to drive past on the school bus, and it was in a bit of a rough estate, and it had like a car on bricks that you could only just see because of all the gnomes and like animals and stuff in the garden. And later met the kid who lived in that house, and his name was Jedi Starbuck.
What?
Yeah, real story. So
Nobody. Whose surname is Starbuck? That's not
no,
a real.
his parents had changed it and then called the kid Jedi. So you could tell from the outside of the house they were odd, but
Yeah.
then they did that to their child as well. So they were some of my favourites.
I'm trying to drop. I've missed one of them off. This guy, I might have to just drop him in. There we go. Look at this. You can't see it yet, but you will. Tell me what this guy collects. It's the reason I do this because it's a couple, and I find this really interesting. I think that the guy, his name is Bob Gibbons, has coerced his wife.
Oh,
Yeah.
Who's this guy with
But
the
Yeah.
live sex dolls? Yeah,
But how does
another classic Channel 5 documentary.
Yeah, they're English, aren't they? But he's married. His wife. I don't know if you can tell which one is his wife, but one of those is his wife.
The one who isn't a size 6.
Yeah. And they've got two. They've got 2
breasts.
kids.
Yeah.
How do you justify
Hold on,
that?
is one of the kids real and the other's like a plastic baby?
I mean, this is a. I think he's got 240 of those, by the way. 200,
What?
240.
But they're like the size of people.
Yeah.
Where does he keep them?
Well, at the dinner table, obviously. That's where
Has he got a mansion?
he spent his collection. I think it's probably worth more now, but it was worth over £100,000.
Well, I mean, to me, it's worth nothing, mate. They're all used. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're not worth anything to me.
Who buys a second-hand sex doll? Come on.
Well, probably him if he's got 240 of them.
Yeah, jeez.
But where are they? They must just be stacked up in his garage.
He's
on
just
top
got a
of each
room.
other.
Yeah, just one room that's
Like-
just full of bodies, just full of these rubber women.
That's equally as disturbing as having them out. I think is having them just piled up.
Well, yeah, just when the mood takes him, and out of 240, like how does? I'm gonna go for.
Having Chantel
Yeah.
tonight.
I wonder if he
Hold on, she's at the bottom.
Does he name that? He must. I think they come with. Do they come with like a backstory? Or do you know what I mean? It's like I'm not like Barbie, but do they have a name and like? Well, she's the one at the front. Obviously, she's got a job. Look, she's a maid.
Yeah, she's a maid.
Then there's that.
Then the next one's like a Thai bride one,
Yeah.
which is odd that you'd order a plastic Thai bride.
You just get for the same price to get a real one.
The one at the back is from the 80s.
But look how
Pepsi or Shirley. I'm not sure which one.
mental
But-
they are. They've given them all a cup of tea.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I mean that's different.
And
isn't it?
even though they're dolls, they do seem to have a kind of trauma on the face. There's like they've been through stuff.
Yeah, they're just dead behind the eyes.
Poor silicon women. Terrible. Anyway, right, that's it. I can't look at that anymore. But in conclusion, you've got a serious problem, and
Thanks. Thank you. I might leave it all to you in the will because I know that it really.
Please, because I've mentioned this last time. Every time you post, I can imagine getting like boxes and boxes of this stuff sent over, and I have to pay for it because of the Brexit
You'd never be able
charge.
to leave. Yeah, no, I don't think it is a problem. Like I say, I think it's a lot healthier than a lot of stuff I've done in the past. I've met some really nice people. I think I probably am a bit like OCD, a little bit. I think when I get into something, I get really into something, and will, buy things. Like I had Sharon bought me a lathe once, and then I bought all the periphery stuff around that. And,
I forgot your woodworking phase that you went
through.
through.
Yeah, a good 9 months. Yeah. Just laving away.
And I neglected to share you got into the 3D modelling.
Oh yeah, so yeah. I mean that is all figure related. I think this is Sharon trying to make me stop spending money on the really expensive
Yeah,
ones.
she's a
So
smart
now
woman.
I can just make them myself. But I can, which is great because I don't just have to have one of them. I can have 10 of them in various sizes. So that's backfired on her.
But I think genuinely collecting is quite a healthy thing for kids. I think it's something that kids should get involved in because it does actually teach you a few things. It teaches you how to be organised and how to kind of like respect your own things because I think you have a different kind of attachment to a collectible than you do to just a disposable. Like a lot of toys or a lot of things that kids get, they get bored of it after 6 months. But if it's part of a growing collection, it maintains its value. You know what I mean? And in addition to that, there's deferred gratification because it can really teach a kid how to wait for that thing and enjoy the process of building something.
Yeah.
Because there's too
No,
much stuff that they're involved in now that is just like everything's instant. You get-
I totally agree. In a world of instant gratification, I think it's really healthy to have to hunt something and wait for something.
Yeah, and just to learn about it as well. I mean, some kids. I tried to have a mineral collection when I was a kid, but I was just like, oh, there's too much learning involved.
Yeah, and then he started chewing them and
Yeah, so I ate them all. Yeah, couldn't help myself. Just those tasty rocks. Yeah. Well, on that note, we've provided the general public with enough evidence that we share these mental disorders, and I think that we should just leave it at that. I'm
I think we
gonna
should
I'm gonna roll
celebrate them, but
credits.
Thank you. Nice one, Ben. I'll see you soon.
All right, love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
All right. You mean basically you just want to have a chat at the weekend and record it? Fine. Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Because obviously we're all middle-aged now, and a lot of my friends are going through some kind of crisis.
Jesus Christ, Ben. Oh!
You know, there's a lot of work involved because, like, I'm going to ask you lots of questions.
You should probably burn her and throw her ashes in the river.
I mean, if you just want to have a conversation for the week, if you're lonely, Richard, just tell me.
You really know how to make me feel self-conscious. I'm sure we were. I'm sure we were cool at one point. Were we? I think so.
Consigning it to digital evidence that will then be played back to them in court.
Why are we even talking about this?
You might lose interest very quickly because I have a habit of making these passion projects very boring very quickly.
Sometimes I just like talking about things that I don't really understand.
So yeah, there you go. There's loads of questions for you. And have a lovely day.
Seriously though, are you sure?
That's my opinion.
They do say it's good to talk, but I never hear them actually talking. This show with Ben and Rich.
This show with Ben and Rich. You found a way to communicate your feelings without actually directly communicating your feelings. Stop it.